Look at the little frog. So hiya, I'm Dave Pitt. I'm a white guy with a tie, and I'm going to talk about is Fawlty Towers racist? Well, I didn't see it. It was over there, wasn't it? Oh, I don't know. There's been a lot of talk recently. Look at the little frog. Yeah. About is Fawlty Towers racist? If you don't know, Fawlty Towers is a TV programme from the 1970s. It was written by John Cleese and Connie Booth. He's considered by many to be one of the greatest sitcoms ever written. And there's been a little bit of ooh-ha this week about whether certain scenes in it are racist or not. There are certainly people who are better qualified than me to talk about racism and endemic racism built into the system. What I can talk about with some confidence is the writing. If you kind of just put the content to one side and you consider them as scripts to get to an end of this sitcom, there is no doubt that Fawlty Towers is one of the best written sitcoms in the world. It's incredibly tight. There's very little fat on the script. Everything kind of builds up into something else. Stuff that happens at the start pays off at the end. It does all the things good writing should do. And like I say, crucially, there's very little fat on the script. Now, there's been an issue this week concerning an episode entitled The Germans. Look at the little frog. And some people have wrongly assumed that the reason a certain TV company in the UK have taken this episode off air is because of Basil Fawlty's rant about don't mention the war and his silly duck walk and all that stuff. That's not why that episode was taken off air. It was taken off air because during that episode, Major Gowan says some racist language. Now, this is already things that the BBC had edited out when they were broadcasting it at 7:30 at night a few years back. They went, no, we've got to take that out because we can't have those words pre-Watershed. What we have to consider is just because someone is racist on screen doesn't necessarily mean the piece is racist. For instance, if you watch Schindler's List, there's a lot of anti-Semitic things going on in that film. The film is not, by any stretch of the imagination, anti-Semitic. If you watch American History X, there is a lot of racist characters on the screen. There's a lot of racist language in this piece. It's not a racist film. It's anti-racist. Here's the interesting thing with the Major Gowan scene in that episode. It's not needed. And this is crucial. When they edited that scene out, we didn't all of a sudden have people going, you know, I watched Fawlty Towers when I was a kid and everything made sense. And then I watched that episode of The Germans when they rebroadcast it on BBC at 7:30 at night. And for some reason, I don't know why, none of it made any sense. Oh my God. Why was he doing that duck walk? What was going on there? Why did this character do this? What was their justification? My God, the whole episode has fallen apart. What have they done wrong? You could take that scene out and everything still worked. So, why put it in? Look at the little frog. When you're writing scripts, you have to make certain decisions. And sometimes those decisions are made by the writer and sometimes they're made by the director or a producer. But Fawlty Towers was written by John Cleese and Connie Booth, and it was as they wrote it. And they made some decisions when they were writing Fawlty Towers, which are interesting. So we both got the same face. I suppose what we need to do as well is we need to talk about jokes. Jokes, by their very nature, usually, in fact the vast majority of the time, have a victim. Someone who's the butt of the joke. Now, you need to decide who the butt of your joke is. And there's a common statement that you'll hear comedians say, which is always punch up, never punch down. So never make fun of the people below you, either kind of be that socially, economically, spiritually, if you want to go that far. Don't punch down, always punch up. The other thing with comedy is when you have this kind of a victim to the joke, if you have, for instance, and this is a big debate that goes on in comedy circles, a joke about a crime. I'm thinking of a particular crime in general, and I'm sure you can guess where I'm going. So you have a perpetrator of that crime, and you have a victim of that crime. If the victim of your joke is the victim of the crime, you probably need to have a long look at yourself in the mirror and consider your life choices. You see, if you've got someone who's committed a really horrible crime, and then you've got the victim of that crime, and you're poking fun at the victim, there's someone else, isn't there, who is possibly more worthy of aggression if you want to go down the route of telling jokes about that subject. There's probably someone else who's a bit more worthy of being the victim of your joke, isn't there? Yeah, maybe. Now, there's no doubt when you look at Fawlty Towers, every character is the butt of jokes somewhere. Basil's as much of a butt of the jokes as Sybil, as Polly, as the chef. But certain decisions were made, which are interesting, like Major Gowan's racist language. Why was that in there? It's not particularly funny. Even when you watch it on the episode, it doesn't really get a laugh. It doesn't add anything to the story. It doesn't advance any of the characters. Why is it there? Isn't he cute? Cute little frog. Yes, he is. And when we watch Basil beating up his car with the branch of a tree, it's funny and we're laughing at him, not with him. And he's a hotel owner in Torquay. That's quite definitely punching up. But then there's other decisions that were made. Let's say I was writing about some builders, and the story involved a incompetent, bumbling, silly builder and a more competent builder. And that became the sort of tension in the episode, is that one character wanted to use the bumbling idiot because he's cheaper, and another character wanted to use the other builder because they're more competent but more expensive. It's a story as old as time itself. If I, even now, was writing that and made the decision that the bumbling fool of a builder was Irish, I mean, there's a very definite reason why I'm doing that, isn't there? Look at him. He's a little frog. And you'd have every right to say, Dave, what if you made that bumbling idiot builder Irish? In fact, is where they come from really that? Couldn't they just... Right. I'll phone the casting agent, and whoever they can get for like 120 quid a day, who's half decent, we'll get them, and it doesn't really matter where they come from. But to put that they're Irish in the scripts, you're making that decision, and why are you? Why? I mean, why would you? Why in 1970s UK would you take the decision to make a bumbling, foolish builder Irish? Look at the frog! And of course, this brings us on to Manuel. Manuel. I mean, his heart's in the right place, isn't it? He's fundamentally, Manuel is a nice person, works hard. And yes, he's struggling with a second language. Let's be honest. I don't know about you, but certainly Manuel, his English is a damn sight better than my Spanish. I'll say that. But he's also a fool. He's he didn't know that was a rat. I mean, come on, Fico or what? And I mean, they sold Fawlty Towers to a Spanish TV company, and of course, because the idea of Manuel being Spanish isn't offensive to Spaniards at all, the people who wore ties in the executive box at the TV company they said, actually, what we'll do is rather than having Manuel Spanish, we'll make him Mexican. And everyone went, yeah, okay, that's a good idea. And that's exactly what they did, because having him as a Spanish person broadcast on Spanish TV, I mean, that's not offensive at all, which is, I'm sure they only changed it because there was a struggling out of work Mexican voice actor that they really wanted to give some work to. I'm sure that's why they changed it. I know it's a bit weird, like a 47-year-old having a Kermit the Frog, right? But I've had it that long, I can't remember whether it came with these turned up or not, or whether it was like that, and then over time they've curled up. I can't remember. So there are things which are problematic in Fawlty Towers, not just problematic in today's climate, but problematic back then. The audience who didn't laugh at the Major Gowan lines were in the 70s watching it live, and they didn't laugh. Still went in. They didn't laugh. It wasn't needed, but it still went in. So with all this, is Fawlty Towers racist? Is Fawlty Towers prejudiced? And why would a 47-year-old man make a video with a Kermit the Frog? It's ridiculous, isn't it? I'll just keep you there. There is the issue, isn't there, that it's not really about that, is it? The whole Kermit the Frog thing, which is a bit weird. It's just a distraction, isn't it? You've just got to keep watching the frog. You've not got to be thinking about all the other stuff that's going on. You know what I mean? So focus on your Fawlty Towers and focus on your statues, because that moves the debate away, doesn't it? That's the distraction. Yeah, don't look at the protests. Look at Fawlty Towers. Don't look at the protests. Look at the statues.